Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Memory Medicine. I'm Dr. Nina, and today I want to talk to you about the brain's glymphatic system. Sounds very glamorous, but it is in fact the way our brain cleans itself up. We used to think that the brain did not have a lymphatic system, but in fact we now know that the lymphatic system goes through something we call glymphatics, through aquaporin 4 channels. Essentially, the cerebral spinal fluid is utilized to move out any substance that the brain doesn't need anymore, any debris, anything it needs to detoxify, and it moves it through the interstitial fluid, and these toxins are then pushed out through these aquaporin 4 channels. Now, what can happen is that through injury, trauma, inflammation, high stress, poor sleep, head positioning, we can decrease the detoxification and flow through these aquaporin 4 channels. So we know that these solutes drain out, but if we cannot drain them from the brain properly through these channels, then we can get development of more inflammation due to the solutes and anything the brain is trying to detoxify actually getting stuck within the brain and causing then in itself more neurotoxicity and more inflammation in the brain. So it's a vicious cycle. If the brain cannot detoxify itself, those solutes then will go on to cause more problems. So an interesting part about the aquaporin 4 and how the brain detoxifies through the glymphatics is a lot of it happens. We think maybe 20 to 30% the research is showing along the nasal lymphatics. So this glymphatic around the sinuses drains actually through the cribriform plate. And a lot of this has to do with pressure and gravity helping us drain through the sinus cavity. Now, a challenge that a lot of us are having these days is that our posture, our head posture has changed so much with modern living. A lot of us are leaning forward on computers, looking down at these phones, watching TV, driving. And so even this movement, this change of head position and posture can reduce the brain's ability to drain and detoxify. We also know that the diaphragm is connected to the cisterna chylae in the brain, and that deep breathing can actually help move cerebral spinal fluid and stimulate drainage through these aquaporin lymphatic ducts. So one thing we can do to help drainage is actually breathe deeper. Most of us don't do this anymore. We take these short, shallow breaths. And so reminding yourself that deep breath is not just about oxygenation, it is also about detoxification in the brain. We know that when we're looking at drainage through the sinus cavities, obviously anything that's causing chronic sinus congestion is a bad thing because it's going to disrupt the ability to drain. So we want to make sure that the sinuses are clear, and this may mean looking at infections, chronic mold, chronic bacteria that can present as infections leading to chronic congestion, chronic sinusitis, allergies, food sensitivities. Anything that's stopping you from being able to take a full deep breath in and out your nose should be investigated because we want to make sure the brain can clear through those sinus cavities as it's meant to do. So other things that can cause challenges in the aquaporin ability to detox is just general poor sleep. We talk about sleep all the time, but it is I think anyway, one of the biggest modifiable risk factors. So we need to have 7.5 hours of sleep. We know that the brain needs this time, and this is where most of the garbage men, so to speak, come to clear out and to drain any sort of debris that has built up in the brain. So the body truly needs this time, even to clear out things like amyloid. The body can do it. Amyloid, because it's a protective mechanism of production, it will be there on and off throughout our lives. As long as the body can drain it and clear it, it shouldn't build up and cause any detrimental effects. But when the body is unable to clear the amyloid and continues to make the amyloid, this is where we can see movement into pathology like Alzheimer's disease. So, what can we do? What can we do? What do we look at? Obviously, I mentioned sleep. We want to get you sleeping. And in fact, there's some mouse studies to say the sleeping position best for draining the lymphatics is on your side, not on your back or on your belly. So on the side was number 1 best. On your back was number 2. Sleeping on your stomach was definitely the worst. So we try to not sleep on your stomach. We want people nasal breathing. So we want to make sure your sinuses are clear. You're not a mouth breather. You can actually train yourself if your sinuses are clear by learning how to breathe through your nose and not mouth breathe. So we really want to encourage that. We want to pay attention to our head positioning, watch all of us staring at our phones, right? We're all very susceptible to this head forward. We really want to work on shoulders back and sitting tall. Let gravity help this process. Some studies point to exercise, obviously improving circulation, that can help reduce inflammation, improve movement of that cerebral spinal fluid through the brain. I mentioned stress. We know that stress causes an increased amyloid deposition in the brain. So we also know that stress causes a loss of the aquaporin for polarization. So it actually blocks the movement of the cerebral spinal fluid a bit, which is pretty unbelievable. So stress is, again, one of another biggest modifiable risk factors. So what do I want you to think about, take home from this message? We know the brain needs to drain at night. We know it has its own glymphatic system that we want to support. So sleep, really prioritize it in your life. Go to bed by 10, get up with the sun, sleep in the dark, get off those screens at night, or at the very least use blue light blocking glasses to block out the blue light from your screens. Some people really find turning their Wi-Fi in their house off at night beneficial. Even if people have Wi-Fi around you, turning your own off that's the closest to you. Some people really say that makes a big difference. A gentle incline in your bed, sleeping at maybe 5, maybe 10% lifted on your side. That can be a great thing. Alternating nostril breathing, working on really getting those breaths in through the nose, keeping hydrated, right? Obviously, we need the fluid to move. We want to help that. Getting in the sunshine, especially in the morning, that's going to help with your melatonin production at night. And things like, keeping obviously glucose down. There's actually some evidence that the specific ketone beta hydroxybutyrate can block aggregation of amyloid, and that might be related to this lymphatic drainage improvement we see. We know that DHA, omega oils from your fatty acid, polyunsaturated fatty acids, omega-3s, can help lymphatic fluid and polarization of these aquaporins so that things will drain a little bit better. Nasal breathing, right? I mentioned obviously making sure these sinuses are clear. So lifestyle can greatly impact these glymphatic and aquaporin functions. So there's a lot you can do on your own to really try and improve your brain's ability to detoxify and clear itself out. All right, I hope you found this helpful and got some new tips and tricks to support your cognitive health and your brain function. Wishing you all a wonderful day. Take care. See you next time.